What's up, guys? It's John with National Sports Entertainment, and I wanted to cover this ridiculous, redundant NBA in-season tournament and the different games going on tomorrow, and of course, do a recap. I'll be doing my football video probably tomorrow, covering the college football schedule. I looked at there's some games I like for Thursday, Friday that I liked yesterday, that I like today. Just nothing crazy. So the ones that I will be including will be all the Saturday games, of course, and I'll be going into Sunday. So far, 0-1 on the NFL picks. We did go with the Titans. I still think they're going to push Will Levis just because I know how they treated him in college, but the Steelers did come through their defense. I've noticed with a lot of teams this year, and reminded me of the '90s, where they're trying to go back to the '90s. It feels like get some physical games, and many times the announcers called it a throwback game, the grittiness and things like that. So it'll be interesting. Now tonight for the NBA, I think we did all right. We missed the Suns again. I didn't think they would. I mean, 10 points after losing. I thought that made no sense. But Wemby came through. Like I said, if you didn't already, just the guy's winning Rookie of the Year. He's gonna have some rough games, and then he's gonna have games like tonight. Whereas there's no other rookie that's going to get the same type of, in my opinion, treatment he's getting. Because, again, it's the international appeal just cannot be ignored. It's definitely something. They're not gonna let this guy be a bust. So we missed that one. That was a leg two. Because the Sixers came through, I went into how I thought there was a really good chance the Sixers and Suns would split at worst. Because typically you'll have a closer game or an slash upset, which would be the Spurs, and then the home team or slash favorite covering handedly. And I think more people were probably on the Raptors. So we got the Sixers cover, and then got the Magic cover. And we missed the Pistons, had them winning. Thought that was a weird line. So a 50-50 basketball day. The Magic was a leg two. So 3 of the 4 of these were leg twos. So we was slight profit. But then again, we missed our football picks. So if you wrote all my picks, slight red day, about -2 units. But basketball, we did profit a meager unit tonight. Again, anytime we can profit, that's nice. But I'm more and concerned with just seeing where they have these teams going. So now we have this ridiculous in-season tournament, which is just ridiculous. I mean, this reminds me of wrestling when they created the second world championship. Like they made a second one just because they realized one guy couldn't be there all the time. So they're like, okay, we'll make 2. It'll be more interesting. I do not understand the reason for this ridiculous tournament. I don't know if it's going on intermittently throughout the year. I don't know if it is going to be just in the middle of the actual season. Again, my question would be, why the hell do they need another tournament in the middle of a season where you're supposed to be playing for a championship? To me, it just diminishes the crap out of either one. Like, either people are not going to care as much about the championship results because they'll be like, oh, well, we won the in-season tournament. Or, again, people aren't going to give a crap about this in-season tournament. But, more importantly, how will it affect us as far as Vegas goes? This is something that we can't take lightly. We got to be appreciative. This is a first time ever. Maybe that's why some of these lines still aren't out. Usually by now, most of the lines are out. But if you notice, we don't have a lot of lines. So I'll find them somewhere else, to be honest. But yeah, this is it. This is weird. I would imagine there might be a slight difference with the in-season tournament. I'm wondering if the actual better team is going to win a lot of these games. So when I looked it up, it essentially told me that the winner is getting, I think, $500,000. Each player gets $500,000, and then it's like a tier program. So, quarterfinalists will get so much, semifinalists will get so much. So my original theory was a team like the Knicks or a team like the Thunder would win this in-season tournament because they're obviously not going to win the finals. So I had like an intercontinental championship like view of this in-season tournament title, and they're also going to be paying them a decent bit of money. So again, I don't think LeBron James needs the money. I don't think Luka needs the money. There are certain, obviously every player's got a lot of money, but every team's got a player with a lot of money, I should say. But some of your teams might have some guys that don't make a lot of money if you look at the combination of their top players. So again, it's a really interesting one. Not exactly sure where they're going to go with it. I'm also curious, like I said, so it says the third we got it going on, but the fourth we don't. So I'm really curious. Let's Google it together. I'm very curious to see how this thing is going to work. So this is tonight. Let's look at the stupid rules. Alright, so it starts November 3rd, culminates on December 9th. The inaugural in-season tournament will tip off Friday 3rd and culminate with the championship on the 9th. Semis championship will take place at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Of course, it'll be in Vegas. All 30 teams have been randomly drawn into 5 groups within their conference. This reminds me of FIBA. I'm like wondering if they're trying to get people into FIBA. And it seems like it is going to... I was trying to see if it's going to be periodic, where it's like, again, one every Friday or something from now until November 3rd, because it's not showing it for tomorrow. So we got single elimination, obviously makes anything possible. As you can see, a prize pool. And they are doing a new trophy, the NBA Cup. This is absolutely ridiculous. But, okay. All 7 rounds televised nationally. The game broadcast schedule for the NCAA. The group play. 10 teams. The group play. 15 teams. Press conference divided in 3 groups of 5. Random draw on the groups below. This is weird, but alright, so let's look at the groups real quick. Yeah, not too much is really changing my opinion here. Like, this can only go one of two ways. Like, there's no reason, again, that they would have a second tournament a group. So basically, if you notice too, this is actually another good way we can. I was looking for different commonalities, and the one I noticed pretty quickly is they evened out the groups, so we can kind of see who the NBA thinks is trash, right? Like the Blazers, Rockets, Spurs. Although I think the Spurs are going to be pretty good. This is actually a pretty darn good group C. If you think it either real or fake, a lot of good talent there. But towards the top, we have the Nuggets. Then it moves down: Clippers, Pels, Mavs. That's also actually another pretty good group. Rockets, the trash team on bottom. Grizzlies are trash this year. I'm imagining maybe they were expecting something different from the Grizzlies. They had to change some things up. I'm not sure. Suns, Lakers, and then we got the Pistons, Bobcats, or Hornets, and Magic. And yeah, Bulls, Raptors. So yeah, looking kind of like my playoff tier, to be honest, as far as the order of these teams. But again, it's very interesting. Maybe it's to get some new rivalries going. It's just, I think it's very, very ridiculous as far as 3 best season records in a conference. As far as the fact that we have an NBA Cup now. And it's like very, very intricate, as you can see. They definitely went very deep into this. So this is showing the different grouping and pots and how each team has been given their pot and group number. Okay, and it will be, it's saying every Tuesday and Friday. That's what I was trying to look for. So it'll be 2 days a week. And it's funny. Earlier when I saw it was November 3rd, I was going to mention the fact that it's funny, it's around the election. And then, of course, here we have it with the exception of Election Day. I found that's pretty interesting. I was trying to think if maybe it'd be politically motivated, the winner. Okay, so essentially, they have these haphazard groups that they arbitrarily threw together, and throughout the season they will play each other, and their records against each other will be tabulated, and then they will go into some type of playoff. So yeah, again, to me, this is like a ridiculously convoluted tournament that I just feel like they're just making for the sake of trying to pad additional ratings, but whatever. It should be interesting. So, that all being said, like I had said before, I wasn't sure if this was going to be like for 2 weeks in the middle of the season, like All Star Weekend, or spread out. It seems like they're going to be spreading it out. So, as far as winners, oh cool, we got our spreads updated in the time I was checking. That's nice, isn't it? So, like I said, tonight our only leg two. Well, we had two leg two loss. We had a leg two loss and a leg one loss tonight, I should say. So the leg one loss was for the Pelicans. I had the Pistons winning. The leg two loss, I had the Suns cover and they didn't. So here's what we're gonna do. Knicks Bucks. So looking at these spreads, it doesn't really seem like. Now again, this is only game one of this long tournament, so I don't think it's going to, the winner of this game isn't. It's not going to be indicative of who wins the tournament. So this first game, this debut game, obviously there's not too much to go off of. So I'm going to use my typical logic. I don't see why not. I think my typical logic should hold here. Now, after we get a few games into the group play, and some teams have a certain record and other teams have a particular record, just like we pick for the divisions, where it makes more sense, we'll be able to do that. But for now, again, for this Intercontinental title, whatever the hell it is, it's in the debut year, so I'll be looking into it. If you guys want, I'll do a video who I think will win the thing. Again, I don't think it's going to be the same people that win the NBA championship. So the winners of this could be very indicative of who does win the championship. So right off the bat, we have Knicks Bucks, and personally, I like the Knicks money line. They just lost to the Cavs. They split the Cavs, but they're coming off of a loss, and they're 2-2. The Bucks. I'd hardly call this time to worry or cause for concern, but for some reason, they're doing articles. Oh, Dame, having trouble already, trouble in paradise. Do the Bucks have to worry? I mean, I could understand if they were like 6-6, 12 games in, or if they were 0-4, 1-3, but they're 2-2. They had impressive wins, and then they had two losses that weren't impressive. So I think it's kind of odd to be pushing the panic button. I think people are going to still be on the Bucks here, only laying 6.5, and between the public action and the fact that they seem to be pushing this, I went into this in my playoff video. I think the Celtics are going to be the team that just has the most impressive record in the East. Obviously, they're undefeated now. I think they're going to rerun what they ran with Philly. And I also think the Bucks are already that team. So it has to be who can beat the Bucks. So if we're seeing the Sixers and we're seeing the Celtics look really, really good, and the Bucks are looking inconsistent, then obviously people can suspend their disbelief a little more. So I'm going to take the Bucks here. I'm sorry, the Knicks here for the straight up win. That'll be a leg one. Now Wizards Heat. Actually, you know what? The Knicks win is going to be a leg two, for two reasons. The first reason, and the more important reason, is I want to make this a contingency game, just like last night where we were able to close a leg. If it would have went to a leg three, I picked two games that I thought at the worst we would split. So the reason I like the Knicks is because 2.5 hours in, we're going to know the Grizzlies Blazers, because they're not going to tip off until probably closer to 10:10, 10:15. So as far as Knicks Bucks, I mean, unless we're looking at an overtime game, which I suppose is possible, we'll know 2.5 hours in, as far as where we're at. If we're down by 10 points with 2 minutes left, then I don't see why it would hurt to lock in the leg three. And at the same time, it's going to be just like yesterday. So I'm taking the Knicks to win as a leg two. And obviously, if they do, that'll be really nice because it'll be nice plus odds because we're doing 2 units instead of one. And should they not cover, our leg 3 is going to be the Grizzlies for the cover. I had gone into this before the season. I thought that the Grizzlies were going to have a rough year, and when Ja returns, he'll probably get some wins, but I just think they're in complete rebuilding mode. I should say they are in reset mode, where they just kind of need to take a breather, just kind of like get everything back to normal, relax, get all their PR concerns out of the way. So I don't see much good for Grizzlies this year. I can't imagine the fans are expecting too much. That being said, still without a win against the spread even. Just doing absolutely awful. I can't see any public on this team, especially because, again, Brooks and Ja were their 2 best guys. So you can argue Jackson Jr., but even still, Blazers are certainly not a great team. But based off what people saw this year, I can't imagine people are pummeling the Grizzlies. And again, for me, what's also more important is the spread metric, okay? It's the fact that when a team is awful against the spread, I like to take them. That usually works out. When a team's really good against the spread, I fade them, and it typically works out. So I wanted to cover them 2 first because, again, there are contingencies. Knicks win is a leg 2. And then, again, we should have a darn good idea, if the game's not already over, of where that game is going to be headed. And we'll make the Grizzlies to cover a leg 3. If the Knicks just win straight, they win and we're good, then we're going to make the Grizzlies a leg 2. Okay? So it's either going to remain a leg 2 or it's going to move up to a leg 3. And obviously leg 2 is 2 units, leg 3 is 4 units. I didn't want to spend too much time explaining that, but this is why we did really good with basketball season last year. It's just this year I don't have the time to, in the like at 9 p.m., put out my pick for like the game, depending on how the prior game went. So I just basically get the picks out in advance. So whichever way it goes, at least you know what you're doing. Of course, you don't have to tail my exact picks. These are just for the people tailing me. So just one last time. Leg 2, 2 units, Knicks win. That'd be nice if they'd come through. If not, I am perfectly fine dropping 4 units on the Grizzlies to cover because I think we'll at least get one of the 2. Another leg 2 I like, so another leg 2 for 2 units is going to be the Bulls to cover the Nets, the 4.5. For the simple fact, the Nets have not lost against the spread this year. They're 4-0. And again, while that's nothing crazy, I'm also looking at who I think the public's going to be on. Bulls haven't done much at all this year. Seems like a perfect game to, 4.5 is, I would think this would be almost even money line. So 4.5 seems a little high. So I do like the Bulls to cover the Nets as a leg 2. The rest of these are going to be leg 1s, just so you know. So I got the leg 2s and the possible leg 3 out of the way. Nuggets, Mavericks. I actually like the Mavericks to win this game outright. Again, it's a leg 1. The rest are going to be leg 1s. For the reason being, I think they're going to get Luka to have his over Joker. Obviously, Luka has no MVPs. He has no rings. So I think they got to start giving him something. And again, this year I think they have a much better chance than Denver of going to the finals. Obviously, they're not my first pick. But even with all that being said, I really think it seems like they're trying to show Luka a lot of love this year. So giving him a win in this inaugural game for this tournament here, especially because we'll be getting a nice money line, and it's in Denver. Denver's not going to have many losses at home this year. Luke is the type of guy that would go into Denver and win. I like Dallas money line. Warriors Thunder. Really interesting one. I personally like the Thunder to cover. Sure, you could take the money line, but I like to try and take the points again and take the safer play if I can. The wins I have, Knicks and Mavericks, I think they just make sense. This one, I think it makes sense. You can make it a close game. And the reason I'm leaning Thunder is, again, storylines. I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but they were getting on Dre and different guys on the team saying, what are you going to do? You're a pretty small team. A lot of other teams are getting bigger now. Do you think you'll be able to physically hang with the Lakers, with the Nuggets? And the Thunder would fit that criteria because even though Thunder, again, Chet Holmgren is about the same weight as Steph Curry, which is a pretty crazy fact. He's still about like 7'2" or something. He's a tall dude. There's really no one the Warriors have to match up with him. Just like we saw Wemby just annihilate the Suns, I think Chet's going to have his best game of the season against the Warriors. Probably, he might not get 7 blocks again, but I see him getting at least 3-4 blocks and stretching out the floor, looking really good. So I like the Thunder here to cover the Wizards. I'm sorry, to cover the Warriors. Wizards Heat, very long. Again, the Heat of probably every single team get the absolute craziest spreads. So, like they'll be like a 2-point underdog in Denver, and then they'll be a 13-point favorite. Like, even though they're 1-4 and not doing that well. I went into this before. I do think the Wizards are going to be a good team this year. I think they're going to be a surprising team, and I think they're going to make a play-in. And I went into that. I don't think the Heat, I went into all this in my playoff video, are going to be that strong. That being said, I can't ignore this spread. Almost 10 points. This a couple days ago, even though I thought the Wizards, I saw Wizards Pacers, and I assumed the line was going to be like 5 points, and I was going to go with the Wizards. It was 11.5 points, and so we wound up going with the Pacers, and they covered easily. And then the same thing just happened with the Celtics Pacers. I was going to go with the Pacers, saw the spread was 11.5 again, so we went with the Celtics. So when I see these really large spreads from teams that aren't that good, it just makes me think the public's going to be all over the Wizards' money line value, all over the spread. I like the Heat to blow them out, so I like the Heat for this cover. We don't have a spread here yet, but I imagine there's no reason, again, if it's a weird spread, then it is what it is. But it's going to work out either way, because if it's a weird spread, I imagine that weird spread would be the Cavaliers being favorites or the Pacers being overwhelming favorites. I just don't see... I'm pretty sure this is going to be about Pacers minus 2.5. That's what makes sense to me. So, no matter what the spread is, like I guess, unless it's something just abhorrently crazy, which I don't think it's going to be, I like the Pacers for the cover here. Okay. If they happen to be getting plus odds, then I'm going to take them to win. But no, I'm usually pretty good. Watch, I'll be way off here. I'm usually pretty good at having a rough ballpark of where they're going to put the spreads at. And this one looks like where the Pacers, there's no reason it shouldn't be about anywhere from -2 to -3.5 Indiana. So, I think they'll be right around where the Bulls are at, something like that. Maybe probably not even that big of favorites. Probably, again, 2.5, 3. If it's way off from that, I'd be a little surprised. But again, the play is going to be Pacers to cover. Because again, the spread's probably going to be pretty close to that. And it's a perfectly fitting game. Because I went into, and again, the reason I keep bringing it up is because I literally went into every single team in detail in my most recent rankings video of the NBA teams. But I basically had gone into how I think the Pacers are going to flip the Cavs. Whereas last year the Cavs were that team, like right after it was like Bucks, Celtics, Sixers, and then the Cavs were established basically all year. Just very consistent. I think they had around 50 wins. Just a really solid team. I think they're going to fall off this year because I do think they're going to trade Mitchell. And I think the Pacers are going to be the team that replaces them as that 4 seed, a top record in the East. So, I like the Pacers for the cover. Again, I've seen these kind of matchups before. I don't see why the Pacers wouldn't be a slight favorite. Not like a moderate favorite. I don't think it'll be 5 points or more. Even if it is, I would like the Pacers even more because, again, if the Pacers are giving 5-6 points, I think people will be all over the Cavs. But because they have Mitchell, but because the Pacers, Vegas seems to like them this year but not love them, I think they'll be like 2-3 point favorites. So Pacers for the cover. So we got Pacers for the cover, leg 1. Heat for the cover, leg 1. Bulls for the cover, leg 1. And we got Thunder for the cover, and that's going to be a leg 1. And then our leg 2 is going to be the Knicks to win outright. If they don't, our leg 3 is going to be the Grizzlies to cover the Blazers. And then we got the Mavericks winning outright as a leg two. That'll be a leg two no matter what. And if the Knicks win their game, then we're not playing the Grizzlies as a leg three, but we're going to play them as a leg two. So basically all leg twos tomorrow, and then the couple leg ones, about half and half, with the chance of one of those leg twos upgrading to a leg three. And again, the reason I use the contingency logic is I just noticed, again, the two ESPN games are the Knicks Nuggets, so I'm not doing it based off of a home team covering or so like we did tonight where I said I don't think both home teams are going to get covered. I'm doing it more just two plays that I really like as far as suspicious money lines. So I think Knicks is a little suspicious, and I think Grizzlies, not that it's suspicious, I just think they finally win one against the spread and get their first win of the season. Sure, they could start 0-6, but again, I think there's enough people off the Grizzlies, and I think they got to keep them in some kind of contention for when Ja comes back. So, like I said, this should be an interesting tournament. I still think it's stupid, but whatever generates ratings, they're going to do. And I guess it's going to go on from now until, like I had said, I think they said it was December something. So it's going to go until December. So twice a week they'll be doing these games. I'm going to be looking for how these games differ and variate from the other games this season. So I am curious how, if we see a more physical game, if we see, don't forget these guys are playing for more money apparently, so maybe they're actually going to try for a change. But maybe, I'm curious if it's going to be more of a shootout, if it's going to be more of a, again, physical games where we get less fouls called. Is it going to be more team-oriented versus one or two guys, going nuts? Or is it going to be no different than the other games? I'm very curious, so this will be the first example we have. And I think we'll do good. Like I say that every night. But like I said, last night for football, we only had the one play, so not so much. But we did profit in the NBA. Very small profit. But again, 50%. We only hit 2 of the 4. But again, when I use the system and the levels, legs, whatever you want to call them, we do typically wind up profiting on about 50% days. So that's the whole goal. Help mitigate a little bit of football, obviously. Would have been nice to get that too. But we're not going to get them all. So hopefully tomorrow we get back to hitting like 70-something%. For the NBA, for the most part, we really only had one rough night so far where we had like 10 plays. We only hit like 2 or 3 of them. It was a pretty rough night. Every other night we've basically split or better, which, I can't ask for much more than that. And yeah, I like these matchups. I really do. I like the Warriors, Thunder. Again, you could take the Thunder to win. I'm taking the 4.5 points. Seems a lot safer. Of all of these games, Warriors, Thunder looks like it'll be a close one. So anytime I see something like that, I'm going to take the points. And yeah, you could do whatever you want. Personally, I like the Mavericks to win straight up. Like I said, that'll be a leg 2. As will the Knicks. And then that Knicks, like I said, the only way we'll play the leg 3, Grizzlies cover, will be if the Knicks don't cover. If they do, then, or win, I'm sorry, not cover. If the Knicks don't win, then we'll run the Grizzlies cover as a leg 3. I think at the very least we'll split these two. And of course, if we split them, it's going to be a nice profit because the Knicks 6.5 points, you're probably looking at about plus 175-ish, something around there, maybe a little lower, a little higher. So for 2 units, it's going to pay obviously better than it would for 1 unit. So that'd be a nice little net. And if it doesn't come through, our leg 3, I think definitely will. And then if it does, there's no reason to rush a leg 3, so that's why the Grizzlies will stay a leg 2. But we're getting about the part of the year where the against the spread metric matters. And teams that are, and again, last year the last team to win against the spread was the Lakers. They were 0-6, and then they finally won. So the Grizzlies are already really close to that. I think they probably get on the board. And yeah, a lot of the other ones are just matchups. So I'm not using the spread metric crazy early in the season just because, again, there's 82 games. But I still try and use it where I feel like it's also a line the public might not take. So obviously it's going to start off with the Knicks. It's going to be Well, the earliest game is the Pacers, and again, they're going to cover. I just don't know the spread yet, but I'm pretty sure about where it'll be, 2, 3 points, something like that. And the Knicks is plus odds, so that'll be a really nice pickup if we do get that. And then again, if not, I have no doubt the Grizzlies will come through. And yeah, it seems like they're doing something different with skinny Luka this year. They talked about it all season, so I don't see why they would just cut the streak short when they could have them beat the champs. To me, that's a pretty big deal. So I don't know why they would stop it now. And you can see Luka's just playing better this year. I think there's no doubt he's going to win the MVP. And they might not be a bad pick, Nuggets, to win this NBA Cup, to be honest. I think, especially if they don't win the finals, then there's a good chance they win the NBA Cup. So, yeah, like I said, I'll go into my college picks probably later today. And then, of course, we'll have the Sunday picks. But I wanted to cover all these games. And I'm as curious as you guys to see how they make some of these teams look. If we see a different style of basketball, or if it's basically more of the same, and they're just going to have a second championship because of whatever reasons. But yeah, I do think that the winner of this whole thing is going to be different than the winner of the NBA Finals. It'd be kind of weird to have the same team win both, unless you really wanted them to look strong. So yeah, leave a comment if you have any questions as far as the unit increments. I tried to make it as concise as possible. I know it could sound a little confusing. Again, all it really means when I say leg 2, leg 3, leg 1, Knicks is going to be for 2 units. If that money line doesn't win, Grizzlies cover is going to be for 4 units. All of our leg 1s are going to be for 1 unit, and then our other leg 2, which is the Mavericks to win outright, is also going to be for 2 units. So nothing crazy there, just unit increments. But if you have any questions, or if you're curious, or you notice something about this tournament, because to me it's very new. I didn't look too much into it, but I just kind of read over it like I was reading over it with you guys. If you know something, or if you found something interesting, let me know for sure. I always like hearing everybody's insight. And like I always say, take care and happy earnings.